There we go. I'm just trying to be black in America in the age post-Trump. So,
Well,
that's all new realities, It is what it is.
yeah, it's the new lost cause theory.
There you go.
The old lost cause was, the Civil War and the South will rise again.
Yes.
And I mean, like literally, that is, that kind of propelled the launch of the KKK and the for about 12 years they just rode around looking like they were crazy, and next thing you knew, 12 years later, the Reconstruction ended, 1877. Feds pulled out of the South, and black folk were left to their own devices. So technically, I guess they did win again. So keep your eye on things, folks.
There you go.
Don't just you can't let up because an election happened, because there's some folk who think the South may rise again.
Oh Lord, we're gonna pray for them and their misunderstanding of life and things in general.
Well, hey, bro, I'm just simply saying, keep your head on a swivel.
Well, let me just say it this way: it might rise, but it doesn't mean it's going to stand.
Yeah, this is true, because it did rise and didn't stand. Only took about 100 years to end Jim Crow, but yes. So yeah, this is the Power Hour, or as we say, a couple of old guys sitting around McDonald's drinking coffee, talking junk. Yeah, and sitting across from me is Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
I think I lost you there for a second.
Oh, uh-oh.
I don't know if that was me or you.
I don't know. You
Anyway.
Sound perfect, so maybe it was me. But let me try it again. Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
Uh-oh. Hope we're not having that kind of morning.
Maybe you can't hear me?
No, I hear you fine. I'm talking about me. It's usually me when that happens. You've never had audio problems since we've been doing this show, ever, that I can remember. But, my audio does like me on Fridays. It doesn't want to be here.
Well, wait, there was that whole period where you were like going every Friday.
I'm trying to tell you, man, my Wi-Fi is saying, yo, bro, it's Friday. I'm not feeling this.
I hear you.
Yeah. And sitting in the studio, holding everything together, is none other than Queen Kawesa.
Good morning.
How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm really tired. I'm glad
Look,
it's Friday.
It's Friday, though. It's Friday. It's Friday. You got to get hyped. It's Friday.
I know. Yay.
All right. How was your ride in today so we get weather and traffic out of the way?
Yeah, so not actually, surprisingly, there was way more traffic on the road than I would think for a Friday. School buses, trucks. I'm like, where y'all going? So yeah, there was a little bit more traffic than I had anticipated for this morning. And even just like, if I'm thinking about the whole week, today had the heaviest traffic. So maybe some folks are just kind of trying to get a head start on the week. I have no idea. But so there was that, and it's not too hot out. It's really not hot like at all. It's like mid 60s. Feels nice, so maybe just like a long sleeve shirt if you're headed out now, but you might get a little warm later. I don't know, but it feels nice to me now.
Well, it's supposed to be a little cooler today,
yeah,
so
some rain.
People will enjoy that delicious weather. So I don't like heat, so there we go. 60s or low 70s for me is always perfect.
Same.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice this weekend. I mean, today, not so great. But again, like you all said, tomorrow and Sunday should be nice. Kind of get a break from the oppression of the weather that we've had. And yeah, looking forward to it tomorrow. I mean, really. Have you have a lot of Facebook friends too?
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes you run into like people that are like your real friends you need to add, and you're like at the 5,000 person limit.
Yes.
Yeah. Had that yesterday. Had to like go find somebody to like exchange.
Actually, you'll be able to. You can actually go back through your list, and then you begin to find out like people who don't have pictures generally are accounts that are closed or something like that. So I go
Yeah,
periodically and wipe all those folk out, and then just start adding again.
that's what I had to do yesterday. I was like, and speaking of Facebook, we're on Facebook Live. Hit the share button, folks, and bring your friends and your families in to the show. Glad to see the folk who are there on YouTube as well. YouTube, shout us out so that we know that you're there. See Denise, Alex, Nikki O'Tim in Walston. Glad to see you all there as well. So, first of all, can we just acknowledge how good it is when you have the president go abroad and like you don't have to do a whole, segment on how problematic it is. Can we just like celebrate the fact that we have a boring president again? Presidents are supposed to be boring. You
Yes,
aren't supposed to have to talk about them every single day.
that is correct. And we deeply appreciate Joe Biden for that purpose. We actually get to talk about Philly stuff, and we get to talk about Pennsylvania stuff.
I mean, think about it. The last president, you'd have to hold your breath on a trip to Britain
Right.
because you're like, literally, it was like one of those comedies. Remember where Austin Powers used to go? It was always some drama with him in front of the Queen.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
He's like punching the Queen. He's like, all kind of stuff. And that was Trump. Every time he went to Europe, it was just, oh God.
Well, it was funny. There was this picture that resurfaced of him and Queen Elizabeth. And it was very clear from the picture she wanted no parts of him. She was standing next to him in the receiving line, but her body's standing in a certain way and turned away from him. And it was like he's standing there, looking Trump-esque. And it was really funny picture. And I was like, yeah, that's how most of Europe was. And then they showed the picture, I guess, when he was at the G20 the last time. And they were walking, and he pushed one of the other presidents aside so he could get to the front of the line.
That was classic.
I'm like, oh my goodness, can we like not have any more of these goofs and gaffes and the narcissistic presidents anymore?
Yeah, well, and the crazy thing is, though, in a lot of ways, he was perhaps the most American president we've ever had.
Wow.
I mean, think about it. Like all of the worst traits
Yes.
of what being an American is was rolled up in one person.
Yes.
And when he rolled out the country, it was all on display. Obnoxious, loud, pushing people around, thinking that that you know what's right just because you're American.
Yep.
No other reason.
Yep.
And that everything else is just dumb.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he was classic. He's a classic.
Classless.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely. Hey, good morning on Facebook. Glad to see you as well. Karen, Rob, Kanisha is in. Ed, Raphael's in the house this morning already. Deborah and Wanda, glad to see you as well. Ethelyn. Oh, what's up, Tracy, Gary, and Mabel. Tawanda is in the house as well. And others who are here. So what's on your mind this morning, bro? Any like big stories, like just kind of like top of mind?
So I mean, a lot of my stuff is like happening, there's a big budget fight happening in state capitol right now. I think I mentioned earlier in the week I was out at the rally that the Democrats and the governor had with regard to fair funding formula. A lot of people don't realize there's actually a $3 billion surplus in the state budget right now, $3 billion. And so I think I'm spending a lot of time wrestling with, what's happening with that. Yesterday in City Council, they passed a resolution calling on the governor and the state House and state Assembly, state Senate, to pass a full fair funding resolution. Shout out to Councilwoman Helen Gim for that resolution and all the many members of council who co-signed on that legislation. It's just a resolution, but it does call for that. I think that's very important, and we're really grateful for that. There's interesting fights that are happening because as a result of the American Rescue Plan and others, we now have states and municipalities and school districts that have received large sums of money to actually make up the difference for what happened during COVID, which I think is going to be important because society's got to get it reset. And I guess that one thing I'm wrestling with is how these governments, para-government institutions, because school districts are like para-government institutions,
Hmm.
are using those resources to benefit those that have been most marginalized, right? So I hear, people like, oh, we should do a variety of things, but I'm like, how are we helping the people who are most marginalized be able to, um, be able to get to a place where they're not there anymore. Just a article that came out this
Hmm.
morning. Some folk are aware about the earned income tax credit that the American Rescue Plan put into place, which for children under six, if you're a couple that make under $150,000 a year, or a single person under $75,000 a year, you can get a payment from the federal government for $300 every month for a child under six and $250 for a child under the age of 17, if you meet those income requirements. That's how, and actually they've discovered through a study that these payments of only $3,600 will have childhood poverty in the country. Let me just say that
Oh,
will have childhood poverty in the country. So
cut it in half?
cut it in half with just
That's what I
36.
thought. Wow. Okay.
So, that's major, right? That's major
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of getting children out of poverty, getting families out of poverty, getting resources to get them child care, to get them health care, to get them the food that they need. So, how are we in Philly? How are we at the state? How are we at the School District of Philadelphia utilizing these resources to benefit those that are most marginalized? I'm not really interested in benefiting those that have. I'm interested in finding ways to benefit those that have not.
Hmm.
And so, that's part of, a lot of my thinking in this moment. And literally, I woke up this morning wrestling with this because this is probably this has been a once in a lifetime event, right? The pandemic, a
Right.
worldwide pandemic. And now we're in this particular situation where we have this once in a lifetime moment with these, heavy duty resources. Now, at the state, the governor wants to put, at least $1.15 billion into schools, and in particular, using a funding formula that will actually bring about equity for many of the school districts across the state of Pennsylvania. No school district will lose any money. No taxes have to be raised to pay for this
Hmm.
because of this
Hmm.
money that's there. Let me say that again. No taxes have to be raised to be able to do this. And yet, we still can't get the Republicans in the state of Pennsylvania to get on board with this. And I'm like, they won't even have a conversation about it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and the base of this is all about race, right? Most of the people that are being discriminated against with the way the funding formula is right now are black and brown kids and poor white kids that are in districts with black and brown kids.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I mean, so apparently there are no poor white kids in the state, in their districts that would benefit from this?
Yeah, there are, but the kids who are in the upper middle class school districts that are majority white
Hmm.
won't experience that. It's mostly the poorer white kids that are in districts that have higher percentages, not necessarily totally districts of color, but have higher percentages that are not going to get resources and will not see more money out of this. And this is just problematic, right? Because honestly, at the end of the day, this comes down to race. And I mean, we have to say that Martina White, who's the state rep in Philadelphia,
Hmm.
has not supported any legislation towards this either. And the school district of Philadelphia is set to receive somewhere between 400 and 500 million dollars more per year. But because she's the Republican in the northeast section of the city of Philadelphia that was put in place by the FOP, she's not supporting this legislation.
Wow, man, that's like, well, that's kind of par for the course, isn't it?
But it's half a billion dollars that would
Yeah.
come to Philadelphia schools. How can you not support that unless it's a racial issue?
Well, I mean, it's we've gotten to a place where again this partisan the partisan differences, and again, then the lines are largely, I would agree with you, divided around down what's good and bad for black folk. Um, what we're seeing reflected in the state fight that you just laid out is what we're also seeing in the national fight that's being laid out, where people, um, You know, I saw an interesting story that kind of, I thought, captured the spirit of what happened on January 6th, for example,
Hmm.
where people said that, you know, what happened is we witnessed the willingness to sacrifice even the institution of democracy to maintain white nationalism and white supremacy. That
Yep.
it's like, as much as everybody not everybody, but what we thought everybody in this country believed in kind of the primacy of democracy as an institution, that when it came down to it, people were willing to let that go. You
Hmm.
know, the idea of a black woman as the vice president of the United States, a black man as the senator of Georgia, a Jewish man as the senator of Georgia, that all of this was just too much. And that even the institution of democracy could be sacrificed in the exercise of what they believe to be their right to be on top of everyone else. And so, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's just it's inexplicable, and it's hard to justify it and understand it in any other way. But at 6:22, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. And man, they made a decision about dirt bikes yesterday. You got to hear this. We'll be right back. It's the Power Hour.
Join WURD Radio for a special live broadcast on Friday, June 11th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Fresh Grocer, located at 4160 Monument Road. As the city is set to reawaken, reopen, and renew, we hope that you too will start afresh with us. That's this Friday, June 11th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. with WURD host Tiffany Bacon at Fresh Grocer, 4160 Monument Road. This broadcast is being brought to you by the Fresh Grocer and supported by Hers, Dietz & Watson, My Independence at Home, Oak Street Health, Dr. Stephen Blake, Nubian Essentials, and Olaniyan Adafumi.
Between family dinners, bedtime stories, and study sessions, Pico knows that life never stops moving. So if you need help paying your energy bills, there are financial programs available, like the Customer Assistance Program, or CAP, that offers a monthly credit that can lower your gas and electricity payments. Learn how Pico can help keep your life moving with CAP. See if you qualify at pico.com/CAP.
Get in and get seen at the Einstein Orthopedics Fracture Care Clinic. If you think you've broken a bone or have been told by your doctor that you have a fracture, the Einstein Fracture Care Clinic offers same-day, in-person, or telehealth appointments. We don't just give you peace of mind. Einstein Orthopedics provides answers when you need them. Visit einstein.edu/fracturecare to learn more.
Welcome Black. It's time to reawaken, reopen, and renew as WURD kicks off our annual 4WURD Early Bird Membership Special. We have stood together every step of the way during the pandemic. Here at WURD, our hosts and producers, elders, parents, children, teachers, doctors, and community leaders stood up, shared resources, and supported each other through the airwaves, virtual events, and of course, the phone lines. We've stayed connected by every means necessary. Let's welcome the new season, the reopening of the city, and our new normal together. Stand with WURD. Join us Friday, June 11th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for our first In the Community broadcast in over a year as we broadcast live from Fresh Grocer, 4160 Monument Road. It's WURD Radio back in the community. Start or renew your sustaining 4WURD membership for the special discounted price of $75, or if you just want to support the work we're doing, there is now an option to become a digital 4WURD member for as little as $5 per month. Visit wordradio.com/earlybird between now and June 19th to take advantage of our early bird discounted membership special. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne David Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and of course, our opinions. And we have plenty of them to share with you each and every day.
We're not that opinionated.
We're not that opinionated.
No, we're not.
Okay.
Let's be real. We have a few opinions.
A few opinions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're not that opinionated. Um, so oh boy, I'll tell you, there is something about this city, and it's reflective of what happens in the rest of the country,
Hmm.
and it is one of the reasons that it's hard to take. You want to take people serious, but it's hard to when you recognize that very often, depending on who is lodging the complaint, the response of the city will either be, full, we're going to pull out all the punches and we're going to be there, give you all of our attention, all of our resources to battle whatever it is, even if it's just like a nuisance kind of complaint,
Hmm.
or just kind of like, man, whatever. And so, very, sad story yesterday. It was another shooting, another juvenile was shot. But in Philadelphia, that's not even new. Almost 100 juveniles have been shot this year.
Wow. Wow.
This year, not necessarily killed, but have been shot this year. And yesterday, there was a shooting that happened inside Federal Donuts.
Hmm.
Now,
I go
Federal
to
Donuts,
7th
what's
Street.
that?
I
Yeah,
go to
North South.
them frequently. Yeah.
Yep, yep. So I pass it all the time. It's, right on the other side of Spring Garden, between Spring Garden and Girard, and it's in a largely gentrified neighborhood. It's one of those neighborhoods that's kind of the perfect definition of what Philadelphia gentrification looks like. So you have an existing black neighborhood that is now like kind of almost being taken over by uber wealthy homes that are driving the taxes up. I've got members who live in that community, and the complaint has always been like, man, these taxes are like just they moved there because they could retire, and now it's like, man, can't even like retire in your own neighborhood. So
Right.
and Federal Donuts is not like a donut shop from the hood. It's now in places like gentrified neighborhoods, like one near our church on South Street. So there was a shooting there, and a juvenile was not the intended target. He was shot apparently twice in the leg. Fortunately, did not die. The person that was the intended target, police believe, is in critical condition. But I don't remember ever seeing the police chief come out, with the exception of maybe if it was like a same incident with an infant or a very young child, with all of these shootings of juveniles show up on the scene to, to share concern on behalf of the department for a person that was shot that didn't die.
Mm.
But when you see that, so yesterday the commissioner shows up to talk about this incident that again in Philly happens like literally almost every day. Juveniles are shot. Like I said, it's almost 90. It's almost, so if it's almost 90, that's almost 100. We're only halfway through the year. You do the math. That is like literally almost every day a juvenile is shot in our city. And but it feels like when you see that the messaging is not there for us. It's there to give reassurance to a newer community that has shown up into this neighborhood that don't worry, we're not going to let this kind of stuff keep happening in your neighborhood.
Hmm. Yeah, this is part of the problem. Like you said, it's part of the problem of Philadelphia, right? It is part of the problem of our system that we do not treat shootings in every neighborhood the same way. We don't treat them with equity. Like you said, there are children that have been shot all across Philadelphia. The commissioner doesn't show up at every one of those shootings. There's not always a lot of publicity. We don't see the names. We don't know the people. It's just another black kid shot in Philadelphia. And generally, if they do find something out about the kid, they're trying to find every negative thing that they can possibly find out to put in the media. So, I mean, this actually reminds me about why the work that you all are doing through Live Free with the town halls around how the media are dealing with gun violence, I think becomes incredibly important in this moment as well.
Yeah, well, and so it just, yeah, Asa Khalif, you're right. Got to make the white folks feel safe. And that seems to be kind of the knee-jerk reaction for so many of these things, right? So I mean, again, look, when the commissioner comes to a scene, that means it's a big deal. Like in your church, when the bishop shows up, it's a big deal. It's, oh, we got to take this serious. It brought out the top officials. And so, again, you don't see that much in a case
Right.
where it's like a shooting where somebody did not die. That's usually the spokesperson for the department. And but I bring that up because yesterday the city council passed unanimously. Everybody gave each other cover. I don't appreciate that because I know they didn't all agree on this. They passed unanimously changing the language of the existing bill around ATV use to include dirt bikes, and that if you're riding one now and you're caught, your bike will be immediately confiscated. That or a $2,000 fine if it didn't belong to you. It's like it's kind of a convoluted bill, but essentially responding to the complaints of places like Queen Village and Society Hill and other places that are annoyed by dirt bikes. The constant talk of the potential danger. Nobody cites anything where people have been run over and killed. It's always these things are so dangerous, something could happen. I'm not saying it's not a problem,
Right.
but we talked about this before, and yet at the same time, it occurred to me that the same city council, many of the same people who voted to crack down on what is viewed as a young black male problem in the city and go the law enforcement route, were prepared to support the mayor in his version of The Wire, bringing Hamsterdam to Philadelphia.
Right.
You remember The Wire?
Yeah, I remember The Wire where they tried to put they did actually create the community where they put all the people that were using drugs, and it was the one safe zone. You couldn't get locked up for using drugs.
Well, right. And what they did is, and Norman Clement, whoever you are, please stop posting your podcast on our page. Or we're going to come on your podcast and start posting our show on your podcast. But yeah, so on The Wire, it was, they create, this rogue, cop who was like the director of a division, got fed up with drugs and just created a free zone. Come and get high, do everything you want. We're not going to arrest you. Well, it was a television show. It was drama. Everybody knew that would never happen till Jim Kenney proposed it. And his administration said, well, look, drug use, opioid is a health crisis. And of course, many of us who remember crack said, whoa. We agree with you. We want to get there with you. But weren't y'all locking crack addicts up?
That's right.
Well, we learned from that.
And some are still in jail.
Yeah. They're like, oh, no. We wouldn't do that again if this were a black issue. And I'm saying, so wait, you guys were willing to literally say it is okay for people to shoot drugs and bring illegal drugs banned by the federal government into a safe zone, and you would provide doctors for them to bring them back to life after they killed themselves shooting up said drugs. And somehow that's okay, and you would vote for that, and your only response to dirt bikes is lock them up, take their bikes, and enforce the laws on the books. And by the way, we're going to find a place for them to ride later, but we got to do this part first. Well, you didn't go the other way first with the drug use.
Right.
In fact, there's a big story about Kensington now, the same kind of issue with homelessness, where the unhoused folk would say, the city wanted to round them all up, and an activist came out and she said, no, you can't touch them. I'm going to sue the city, and the city backed off of their plans. And I'm saying, wait a minute. Where's the consistency?
Right.
I mean, who's speaking up for young black men? I've said it before, that if you find a creative way, you might be able to do what Mural Arts did by taking graffiti artists that were doing things illegal that annoyed people and turn it into something that the city is proud of and makes money off of. If you will only go the creative route first, but when it comes to black people and black men and young black men in particular, the first reaction is to lock them up and throw away the key, and we'll get to the creative part on the other end. And I'm sick of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that is 100% right. I mean, look, I find ATVs annoying. Okay, I'm just going to admit it. I do. But I don't think it's worth locking up and arresting kids over the ATVs. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think the interaction with the police is worth it. I think this is going to cause a problem down the road. I think there's going to be more protests and more actions because some cop is going to feel, get froggy one day and decide to go out and act wrong with some kids on the ATV. Something's going a shooting. There's going to be some altercation. It's going to be caught on video, and then we're going to be middle of protesting. And part of it will be the creation of a law that makes ATV, riders and dirt bike riders subject to special consideration from the police. This is going down the wrong path. I think if they really want to do something, they need to create the ATV parks.
Do it first. So
Right.
I was interviewed by HYY yesterday, and what they told me is that the bill sponsor, Alan Dom, and the co-sponsor Mark Squilla said that, yeah, we do want to get like some dirt bike parks, and but we got to do this part first. We got to deal with the enforcement part first. And I'm saying, yeah, but that's not how we treat all the other issues in the city, especially the ones that are branded as an issue impacting white people. Opioids has killed a lot of black people in the city, and we know that. Many of us know people who have family members, and it is not just a problem for white folk, but it has been branded as a problem that is associated with white people, not with black people. And as a result, it gets a different kind of approach. I mean, it's not like with dirt bikes and ATVs, this law is written that even if the police see one that they believe to have been used illegally, that means that they don't have to even catch you riding it. If they believe that it has been used illegally, they can take your bike. We
Well,
all know what that means.
that's basically every bike in the city. I mean, every dirt bike and every ATV in the city of Philadelphia, because there's no legal means to ride them in the city of Philadelphia whatsoever. So they're just
Right.
basically going to go around rounding up bikes.
Hello. And yet, again, I can find you a whole lot of criminal activity going on. If I see you sitting there nodding off, I got to believe you were just doing some drugs. Get in the vehicle. Let's go. I mean, you can't have it both ways, right? I mean, you literally cannot have it both ways. On one side of the city, we're willing to have compassion and we're willing to understand that, man, this is a terrible situation. Opioids, good God, who wants their family member being in that? We need to view them as human beings and find a creative way, even if it means letting them shoot up drugs illegally in public. And yet on the other side of town, it's you're criminals, you little thugs. We have no compassion for you because you're just out here trying to terrorize us, lock you up and throw away the key. Come on, Philly. Let's bring that same energy that we have for Kensington to North Philly and West Philly. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying riding dirt bikes is okay on the street. I'm not saying it's not a problem. What I am saying is that you have to engage the community that you're trying to save. And it doesn't feel like they're trying to save our young people. It just seems like another attempt to push our young people away.
I hear you, bro. I hear you on that one. And I think it was a bad. I mean, with so many other things going on, that just doesn't seem to be the top priority at the moment in the city of Philadelphia. This goes back to the John Timoney days of broken window theory, which doesn't always work.
Right. Yeah. Well, you got to deal with this first because look who complained.
Well, I guess we have to keep our gentrifiers and colonizers, gentrifiers, happy, so that they will stay in Philadelphia. I guess that's what that comes down to.
I'm telling you, man, I was looking at this video. I know we got to go to a break, but I was looking at this video, if you haven't seen it, in Glendale, California, where ended up taking 6 cops to detain a man who was caught shoplifting. Again, shoplifting is not right. It's illegal. Shouldn't be able to do it. You take money out of somebody else's, mouth, but or food off their table, I should say. But bro, man, they stomped this guy down, choking him. He's somebody can't breathe. One cop wasn't even there. He runs up on the scene and kicks him right in the face. He's shoplifting. He's shoplifting. And I'm saying, these are the people that you want to go start snatching ATVs? I know it's Glendale, not Philly, But okay, Philly is worse because you were talking about hypothetical. His name is Officer Pownall, and the victim was David Jones, who was on a dirt bike, who was shot in the back. So we don't really have to even go search for the what could happen. We've seen what could happen. We need to be moving toward less involvement with law enforcement for these quality of life type problems and more engagement in real creative solutions. It's 6:41. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
No one has a perfect rule book for parenting, yet we all have a story about how the presence or absence of a father impacted our lives. First Person Arts and EMOC Philly present a multi-ethnic celebration of enduring love and emotional resilience in Letter to My Father, Letter to My Son, Evolution. Streaming on Zoom at 7 p.m. on Thursday, June 17th. The event is free, but registration is required. Visit firstpersonarts.org to sign up.
Black Broads Abroad is a new show hosted by yours truly, Felina Jean. I've been an expat for over a decade, living across 4 continents, 6 countries, with travel to over 40 places in between. My show will feature spotlight interviews of compelling Black women who have also said peace out to the divided states and are thriving abroad. From Iceland to Istanbul, Madagascar to Mogadishu, and a host of other countries. Tune in every second Sunday of the month from 5 to 6 p.m.
Tune in to More Than That with Gia Peppers live this Sunday, June 13th at 1 p.m. or wherever you listen to podcasts. This Juneteenth episode of More Than That is sponsored by General Motors as a part of their commitment to becoming one of the most inclusive companies in the world. Everybody in.
Join WURD Radio for a special live broadcast on Friday, June 11th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Fresh Grocer, located at 4160 Monument Road. As the city is set to reawaken, reopen, and renew, we hope that you too will start afresh with us. That's this Friday, June 11th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. with WURD host Tiffany Bacon at Fresh Grocer, 4160 Monument Road. This broadcast is being brought to you by the Fresh Grocer and supported by her, Dietz & Watson, My Independence at Home, Oak Street Health, Dr. Stephen Blake, Nubian Essentials, and Olaniyan Adafumi. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by ExpressPros.com. 295 northbound, your jam from 42 to Route 30. Accident there involving a jackknife tractor trailer and a fluid spill. Southbound side, your jam Warwick Road to Route 30. Spill also in the 2 left lanes there as a result of that northbound crash. Now 55 North Deptford and the 42 already busy. Southbound 95, Cobham to Bridge, heavy through works. Westbound Vine Expressway delays 8th out the Broadigan Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill Expressway westbound. Broad to Passion getting slow through that work zone. Again, delays Building City out to Belmont. Eastbound, no major problems there as of yet. Southbound Boulevard, Route 1 delays Broad to Fox through construction. Now is the time to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals never charge job seekers a fee and has more than 35,000 job openings with high demand in construction, driving, logistics, and administrative jobs. Find the location near you at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. All right, folks, you heard it here first. We're back outside for the first time since the pandemic. Join us today, June 11th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Fresh Grocer on Monument Road in Philadelphia for our Reawaken, Reopen, and Renew event. Join and renew your sustaining forward membership for the special early bird price of $75. We'll be outside, weather permitting. And just to be on the safe side, we ask that you wear a mask and observe social distancing protocols. We look forward to seeing you today from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Welcome Black. Visit wordradio.com/earlybird to join or renew today. Check that out. So folk from WURD will be out of Fresh Grocer today over on Monument Road. And folk look forward to seeing some of you all out there today.
That's right. Man, the Fresh Grocer on Monument.
Yeah.
There's a Dunkin' over there.
Right next door. Right near Sharon Baptist Church.
I used to get my coffee there like every morning.
All right.
And yeah, there was like a group of old guys. I mean, like truly old guys. And No, I mean, like, really, man, I wonder I've been thinking about them because, I mean, that was like their ritual. That they would show up there and, like, kind of the leader of the group had a table. Everybody knew not to sit there. So if I got there before him, I could sit there. But when he came in, I moved. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, yeah, man, my man, Mimo. And I just been, like, wondering what happened to everybody since the pandemic, because I know it threw all of their, like, routines off, man. I mean, you know, people look forward to that. And so I think when I show up over at the show, I'm gonna check in at Duncan, see if my people are still there.
It's actually funny. I'd never, growing up, I hadn't seen that, and it wasn't until I went to my first church, the pastor at Camphor Memorial in West Philly, and there used to be this place on 57th Street. I want to say it was called Hawks or something like that. I don't think it's there anymore. But all the men, the retired men in the church, met there every morning.
Yep.
Sunday through Sunday.
Yeah, bro.
For breakfast. I was like, wow.
Yeah, man. I mean, seriously.
There would be the men from Camphor, Wharton Wesley, some other, folk. They were all sitting in there. You couldn't get a table.
I mean, there's something about that. There's a great book. It's like oh man, I had to read it in one of my programs, but it's called Slim's Table. Mm-hmm. And it's talking about like this guy named Slim and all of his friends and a person actually studied them like every day for a year or two, just sat with them for breakfast, talked about just kind of the social fabric and all of the kind of things that it was like their world, right? It was like their support. So, I mean, in all seriousness, I was concerned during the pandemic because people who couldn't get to those kind of places, I mean, that's like taking a family member away.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, look, some of those folk, like the only place that you are somebody in the world is at that place at that hour.
That's right.
You roll in there and it's like, yo, that's Mr. So-and-so. Bro, I wish I could tell you, man. I mean, my man would come in, he would rearrange the tables. If people have messed them all up, he got to get everything right and fixed. Then everybody shows up. They kind of just adopted me. I was like their kid brother. I was able to let me sit at the outside of the conversation.
Yeah, little kid's table, right?
And they liked the fact that I always showed up on a motorcycle. That they enjoyed that.
Okay.
So they gave me cred with them.
Yeah, that's actually funny. That's very funny.
Yeah, so really shout out to all of those folk who have been impacted by the coronavirus and the shutdown in ways that we don't even think about, right? I mean, we think about the things that come to mind right away, people losing jobs, being displaced, separated from your families. I mean, literally all of that, the people who had to grieve and mourn the loss of folk by themselves because people couldn't get there safely. But then there's also all of these stories as well. And so, again, our prayers are for people that everyone would have good mental health during this moment as we come out of what has been the darkest period for our lives in our generation, certainly.
Absolutely.
Never thought I'd see the day.
No.
Never thought I'd see the day.
It's actually kind of interesting now that, we're starting to come out of the pandemic. Like the last 18 months has just been kind of surreal. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget literally sitting in my living room one morning with my wife and just sort of like, are we really living through this? Are we really in the middle of this? I'm like, is this a nightmare we're just living in right now? And I mean, we've managed to get through it, but there are, 600,000 that didn't.
Yeah, I mean, hey, oh God.
Things that are going to be impacted by this for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I think the part that got me the most was how empty the streets were in major U.S. cities. Mm-hmm. So you and I, it's not like we have the kind of profession where you could just like stay at home. Right. So we were forced out into, I mean, man, life goes on and people still passed away and the things that is like, part of the clergy and then, on the organizing and activism side that just kept, drawing us out. And I got to tell you, man, I had to drive through New York City at one point early on in the pandemic. And it was like a friggin' horror movie.
Oh, wow. Nobody on the streets.
Man, it was so eerie. Midday on a weekday, driving through New York City and seeing nobody. I felt like Philly's Will Smith, I Am Legend.
Wow.
I was like, man, I felt like some zombies or something going to come and attack me. New York City with nobody moving.
Wow.
on a weekday, shit. Yeah, so I'm just glad that that we're moving into a new phase. We had a big congregational meeting last night with our officers to start talking about a day to return to worship and the impact of that. Sure. And I think a lot of people are having those similar conversations, not just with church and, the masjid and the synagogue, but in other aspects of their lives as well. So, hey, another thing we can thank Joe Biden for, who actually came in and took coronavirus serious.
And finally got those vaccines in the arms and then, released resources to make the vaccinations happen, right? And was very clear about what we had to do and when we needed to shut stuff down so we could actually get this thing under control. So big shout out to Big Joe.
You're about to give 500 million shots to the rest of the world, which is kind of important.
Absolutely.
He's
already giving away 50 million.
Well, right. But I mean, the whole, see, here's the problem with the America First stuff. It's so similar to the way education is done to kind of bring the show full circle. You start off talking this morning about the inadequate funding for Black students. And nowhere is that seen more than like what we will see when we do the walk on June 21st for power from Gomper School on one side of City Ave and cross over to Marion Elementary School. There's this idea that somehow, if I only take care of my neighborhood, then I'm good. And I don't have to help you. I don't have to share resources because I can build up a fence or I can build an invisible fence on City Ave that will arrest you once you come over on my side trying to shovel snow. Y'all remember that story. Or I'll build a wall at the southern border. But things like disease, they don't care about zip codes. Hey, coronavirus is like, yeah, I'm not in y'all stuff. That's your fight.
Right.
I'm just here to kill who I can kill. You can be rich, you can be white, you can be black, you can be Mexican. I'm just here for you people. So it's kind of in our best interest to help vaccinate the world.
That's right.
If not for their good, for your good.
I mean,
Jesus.
But the thing that coronavirus I think should have done, which I'm not sure that it did do, which was show our common humanity. And that if we're going to win, we have to win together. It cannot be done apart from one another. And I think, when I go back and I look back over what Trump did, I mean, part of it was the minute they realized this was impacting Black and brown folk worse than it was white folk, we're going to open everything back up again. And it's just like, can we see our common humanity? We're all human beings. We might have different skin tones and skin colors and different ethnicities and a variety of ways that, we live in the world, but we're still all human beings. Can we just recognize that, see that, and fight for each other? Isn't that what we talk about when we listen to the show start in the morning? We fight for you. Can we all fight for each other?
Yep. So, well, in that same vein, as we get ready to head to the weekend, I just noticed in the feed, Joe Simmons' mother-in-law passed. He's in town for the funeral. Joe, praying for you and for your wife. And, I know we sometimes differ about opinions on this show, listeners with listeners with the host. But, I think we are a family. And so family comes together when one mourns, we all mourn. When one rejoices, we all rejoice. So as a show and as a family, Joe, our prayers for you all and safe travels as you return back to Florida after the services.
Amen. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us here on the Power Hour this week. We'll be back Monday morning at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinions, which we have plenty of those. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for everything that you do. Thank you, Coesa, for holding down the boards and making sure we're on the air each and every morning. Thank you to everybody that listened to us on the air, through the app, through Facebook, through YouTube, through Twitch. Hey, you might even be listening to us through Alexa. Hey, Alexa, turn on WURD Radio. Listen, stay tuned now for Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. And, hey, by the way, family, go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.